All right. Hey guys, this is Kennedy, and welcome to my new podcast, Third Position. I'm super stoked about this all happening finally. I know I've been encouraged by a lot of people in my life to start a podcast, and I've been putting it off for a super long time. But here we are, episode 1 of my Third Position podcast. So this first episode, I'm kind of just going to do a shorter little intro, give you a little overview of what I want to do with this podcast and the things I want to talk about. And so I'm just going to start from the top. 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to get after it. So my name is Kennedy. I'm 25 years old, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been dancing in a company here called Nashville Ballet for about, I think this is my 7th season. Yeah, my 7th season. And I'm from a little small town in Indiana. Grew up dancing at a super small studio that my mom actually opened. It's called Eclipse Performing Arts. My little home studio. Love it. And yeah, so I started there doing more, I don't want to say recreational dancing, but it kind of was because we weren't doing competitions or anything like that. It was more recitals, and that kind of led into getting a little bit more serious and doing dance competitions. I was totally comp kid for so many years. I started dancing when I was 7, and I was super into the jazz, contemporary, lyrical, tap, hip hop, all of that kind of stuff. Like, ironically, I wasn't super into ballet. I actually dreaded ballet. I did not like it at all. I thought it was super boring. I was not interested. I was kind of just doing it to get through to the next classes because I wasn't super interested in being a ballet dancer. So I was just kind of like, all right, let's take ballet so that we can get to jazz after it and do all that stuff. But obviously I was very encouraged to take ballet because that was the foundation of dance, and it still is. It's like a super solid foundation of all forms of dance. So I took my 2 ballet classes a week and lived my comp kid life. I did all the star, power, system, over the moon, stars, at the rainbows, and stuff like that. I did all of those dance competitions, and then I got a little bit more serious and got into the Nouveaux and the NYCDAs of the world. And I was training with a coach at my mom's studio. Her name was Tara. I love her dearly. And she was my ballet teacher. And she taught contemporary, and she taught jazz. She taught a ton of stuff. But she was very adamant that I pursue ballet a little bit more seriously. I remember her being like, hey, you should take ballet a little bit more seriously because I do think that you have a lot of potential to make this your career. I do think that you should pursue ballet. So I wasn't super excited for that when she said it, but then she was like, at this point, I think I was 14. And she said, you know what? Why don't we just get you in a pair of pointe shoes? Which, by the way, I'm like, I feel so late to the ballet game. I feel so late to the pointe game. And she's like, let's just throw on a pair of pointe shoes. Let's train for a couple of months and put a variation on stage. Just kind of dove head first because she was like, let's do this ballet competition called Youth American Grand Prix. She was like, let's just do it. Let's just put you on stage and see what happens. So we trained for a couple of months. I'm in pointe shoes for the first time in my whole life. And sure enough, I go out there, I get on stage. I think I did 2 variations and a contemporary at this huge ballet competition, and somehow, by the grace of God, made it to the finals. And I remember being in the wings in New York and being like, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing in my pointe shoes. All these people are like super seasoned dancers, and I was just kind of like, dee, like, I just learned how to do a releve point like 4 months ago, but here we are. And then I remember being in the wings, and this Polish man came up to me, and he was like, I can make you a professional ballet dancer if you move to Arizona and train with me. So I mosey on up to my mom, and I'm like, hey, this guy said he could make me a professional ballet dancer. I just have to move to Arizona. You should go talk to him because he wants to talk to you. So she did. And I was standing backstage. I had another conversation with my mom after that. And she was like, if you really, really want this, then you're going to have to give up like the normal high school life. Like, your trajectory is going to be very different. And I was like, no, I want to do that. Like, I want to, if it means doing online school, moving away, then that's what I have to do, because at this point, I was falling in love with ballet. Like, it only took a few months. It took putting on those pointe shoes to fall in love with it. And I just knew, I was like, all right, I think my coach was right. Like, this is what I want for my future. And so I ended up picking up, moving to Arizona, and training at a ballet school for like 3 years. And I went to Master Ballet, trained with them, got to travel all over with them. We went to Poland, we went to China. I competed. I got to represent the United States in the International Ballet Competition. Did more YIGPs, danced in some galas, and did amazing things with them, and ended up, after doing all of that, I ended up here in Nashville. And yeah, so now I'm dancing with Nashville Ballet, and it's been a hot minute. So I did all of that. Going back to the beginning, danced in my mom's studio. Throughout that whole time, tons of stuff happened. There was one point when we were actually on Dance Moms. We did a whole little spin-off show called Abby Studio Rescue, and that was wild. That was an experience in itself. That I feel like there's so much to unpack from that experience. I think it would be super fun to unpack that with my sisters who are part of it all. That would be an absolutely chaotic and entertaining episode. That's definitely going to happen. So that happened. Went to Arizona, trained in the ballet school. I had a little moment in my life, my dance life, where before I actually took my job at Nashville, I was like, ooh, do I want to do ballet? Do I really want to do it? I kind of missed my competition life, my contemporary hip hop, jazz life. And I think like any 18-year-old, especially from like my generation, everyone has the moment of like, oh, I want to do So You Think You Can Dance. And I had that moment since I was a kid. I was always like, oh, I want to do So You Think You Can Dance. Like, when I turn 18, I'm going to do it. I'm going to audition. And sure enough, when I turned 18, I auditioned, and I did that. I did that for half a season. And that was another thing that I would love to talk about in an episode. We're going to touch on Studio Rescue. We're going to touch on So You Think You Can Dance. This whole podcast, I think it's super important to touch on other things like, dancers are humans. We are people. So I think we should definitely have some conversations about like balance in social life and, you know, confidence, body image stuff. All of these things play a big role in who we are as artists and humans. And I know that those are things that, you know, we experience every single day in life. And that goes for like everyone in general, not even just dancers. But I definitely think that that's something important that I want to touch on. Schooling in the dance world, what that looks like. Like, I turned 14. I did all of high school online, and I'm sure so many other dancers have done that or are currently doing that. So, you know, that can be difficult. That can be a whole thing. What else is... I would love to talk about... I have notes because I am like a squirrel. I feel like my mind goes to like 50 billion different places all the time. Then I lose track, and then I talk nonsense like I'm doing right now. Like, I have to look at my notes. I want to talk about some principal roles, what it's like being an understudy, what it's like doing your first principal role, what it's like being in a company in general, the lifestyle, what a day in the life looks like, things like that. Just general overview of, you know, being a company dancer, dating in the dance world. Oh my goodness, do I have stories about dating in the dance world? That's a whole thing in itself. Like, there's so much that I'm excited to touch on with you guys. And I have a lot of friends, too, that I've met over time in the dance world, competition life, my comp kid days, my ballet days. I have a lot of people that I've crossed paths with because of dance who are super pumped about this podcast, that are interested in coming on and having conversations with me. So I'm really excited for that to come, all of my friends that you get to hear from, and we get to talk all things dance, all things life with you. So yeah, like I said, I'm just starting this episode super brief, just kind of an opener, an idea of what's to come. And just, I want to thank you guys so much for supporting me and tuning in and just giving me the courage to start a podcast, because as you guys know, as dancers, we dance. We don't really talk. So I'm so nervous, and I've been so nervous to start a podcast because it's just me talking. So just thank you guys for encouraging me and giving me this other kind of outlet aside from dance. So I'm super excited about this all and looking forward to releasing more episodes kind of focused in on more specific topics and subjects. So thank you guys so much, and I'm super excited to go on this journey with y'all and release more episodes. So thank you so much, guys.